Calculus 2 is one of the hardest courses an engineering student takes up during college. It's not the hardest subject, but it is the most challenging for a majority of the students, and they often have to end up retaking it in their second year. So, why do so many students struggle with this course? Well, because students tend to make these common mistakes. Firstly, most students just rewatch their lectures or reread their notes again and again, or they don't practice enough and they don't review the formulas. They just stop at revision. Since Calculus 2 is a very technique heavy course, it requires a lot of algebra and it builds up on every single math concept. So if you want an A in Calculus 2, here's what you should do. Firstly, make sure to follow the 80-20 rule and don't get stuck in the preparation stage that most students get stuck on because they feel nervous to start. So they feel more safer by watching the lectures and revising, and then the first time that they ever sit down to actually challenge themselves is the day of the exam. That's why when you sit down to the exam you freeze, because doing the problems is not the same as watching them. Researchers say that watching someone do a problem creates the illusion that you've done it. So when students keep just watching videos, several, it creates this overconfidence in them that yeah, they can do it, but it's not the same. So to get an A in this course, it's only through repetition, and you can gain repetition only through practice. So after every single chapter, do 10 sets of exercises. Just revise for 20%. 20% of the time revise. 80% of the time you should be studying. And by studying I mean actively practicing. Because when you're practicing, you're learning. I think this is called active learning, and revising is passive. So to keep your brain awake, just do the exercises and keep looking back at where you made your mistakes. So my next tip would be make mistakes as early as possible in your course. Don't wait for the quiz or mid or final to do your mistakes, because that's going to cost you. But when you make mistakes on your own when you're studying, that's not going to cost you. In fact, you're learning from them. Thirdly, the next tip I would say is that from the beginning of your journey of Calculus 2, carry a sheet of paper with you to every class, and whenever your professor mentions a formula, write that down. Whenever he or she mentions a tip, write that down. And do this for every single lecture, and then right before the exam, review those sheets. This way, right before the exam, 80% or 70% of your work is already done because you have those sheets. Students tend to do this right before the exam. The rest of the time, review your mistakes. So the mistakes that you repeat while you practice on your own, but you may have a tendency to do them in your exam again. So to prevent that, just keep note of your mistakes and look back at them right before the exam. And just practice, really, because that's what's gonna make an A inevitable for you. The student that does 100 practice questions or 100 past papers is very much more likely to do good in the final than the student that just watched the professor's videos or reread their notes. Because this is math, and if you're going to do engineering, then you need to know math can only be mastered through repetition and familiarity. So do lots of past papers. This will help you to know what sort of questions are coming and the pattern of the final exams. And also you can use it to finally review your weaknesses one last time. My last tip would be just believe in yourself. You can do this. Okay, if you were put in this class, then you were put into this class for a reason. You're capable, and so you can do this. The harder you work, the more confident you'll feel in your abilities and your capabilities. So believe in yourself, and you got this, and good luck for Calculus 2.